Hey guys, Dane here with another episode. This is episode 26 of our Unity Make an RPG tutorial using C Sharp. And today I'm going to cover our stat allocation that we're going to be using for our create a player GUI. But it's also going to be set up so that you can use it elsewhere in your game. So let's say you're leveling a character up, and every time they level up, you want to give them stats so they can add. This would be a module to do that. So I went ahead and I started the script a little bit. I set up the structure, and I'll go ahead and explain everything I did, and then we'll continue on from there. The first thing I did is I went in our Create a Player GUI folder. I created a new folder called Stat Allocation Module, and I created a C# script called Stat Allocation Module. Now I'm going to open that up in Mono Develop, and as you see, I got rid of the mono behavior and the start and update functions because we're not going to be needing those. I created 3 private variables, and they just happen to be 2 string arrays and a bool array. The first one is stat names array. It's a string of 6 length, and I put our stat names in here. This is where you're going to put your stat names. If you don't remember, I had stamina, endurance, intellect, strength, agility, and resistance. The next part is stat descriptions. It's another string array. It's size 6 because we have 6 stats. And basically what you want to do is go ahead and explain what your stats do. I'm not going to get too in depth with what mine do yet because I haven't figured it totally out yet, but I'm just going to go in. So I made very simple simple descriptions so that it looks, just so I can show you guys that it works. So I'm just going in and adjusting some of this a little bit. Haste, I'm going to change crit. Change these as capital letters, make it look a little better. All damage reduction. Okay, so now the basic structure of this is going to be. Oh, let me go over. We have also stat selections array, which is going to control our toggle switches that we're going to be creating with the for loop in a minute. But basically what I wanted to show you is that we're going to be calling this one function here, this display stat allocation module. And this function is going to call all the heart and soul of this function. It's going to call the buttons, the labels, anything, it's going to handle all the logic. And the reason why I wanted to do it in this separate stat allocation module script is for 2 reasons. One, this script is going to be a little bit longer, and I didn't want to crowd up our display create player functions much. And also it's going to be modular, that's what I call it, module, so that you can use it elsewhere in your program. So go ahead and go to your create player functions. Scroll down to our display stat allocation function. And if you remember, we created this function that's called from our state machine and our create player GUI. And this is still going to work the same way, but I added this line of code here, and it's basically what I did is I added a private variable of type stat allocation module. I called it stat allocation module, and I created a new instance of it. And I came down to our display stat allocation function, and I just called this display stat allocation module function that is in our stat allocation script. And I know that's a lot. I know I just said a lot, but basically that's just how I like setting up these different modules, and you can use them elsewhere. That's what's so perfect about it. You can reuse your code, which is always a good thing. Always a good thing. So just to update you on, this is our update function. This is our tiny switch statement, or switch statement. And what I did is I changed our current state to our stat allocation state. So as soon as this program runs, it's going to skip our class selection for now, and it's going to go to our stat selection, and it's going to run our display stat allocation function, which again will run our stat allocation module, which will run this set of code here. So again, slow down the video, go back and forth if you need to, but that's just a basic setup. And the first thing that we're going to do, and probably what we'll only do for this video, is we're going to set up our for loop with our names or with our toggle switches. And the way we're going to do that is, like I said, a for loop. So what we'll do is a for loop. We'll do int is equal to int I is going to be equal to 0. This is going to be our counter, and we're going to say we're going to continue the for loop as long as our stat names dot length is. So what this stat names dot length returns the length of this stat names string array, which in this case is 6, but if you have 100 stats, it'll run it 100 times. You put a semicolon, and then we'll go I++. So that means it's going to run this code, and it's going to increment I for every time it runs what's in this for loop. Now, in the for loop, we're going to have a couple things. Well, in this for loop, we'll have one thing. It's going to be, instead of display stat selection grid, it's going to be display stat toggles switches. And I'll go ahead and copy this, paste it here. I'm going to go ahead and change that. And what we're going to do now is create our toggle switches. So what you're going to do is you're going to go, this is where we're going to use our stat selection bool array. So you'll go stat selections bracket I is going to be equal to our GUI dot toggle, and then toggle takes a new rect. It takes a value. In this case, it's going to be our stat selections. Stat selections I, and then it takes content, and the content is going to be stat names bracket I bracket square bracket. Don't forget your parentheses, and then colon. Now we need to add our coordinates. I'm just going to do 0, 0 real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and explain. The last two are going to be the size of the button, and we want our button to be, we're going to say 35. We'll do 50-50 for now, actually. So we give us a square toggle switch, and then what? It's gonna make it a little longer. We'll make it just make it 100 for now, and then we're gonna start at 10 from the left, and then we're gonna have each stat is gonna start 10 from the left, but it's gonna start 10 times I plus. Actually, we're gonna do 50 times 60 times I plus 10. So what this means is that every time this runs, we're going to create a new toggle switch, and this toggle switch is going to start 60 times I. So the first one will start at 0 plus 10, so it's going to start 10 from the left, 10 from the top, and it's going to add 60 below it every time. Now we're going to control S to save. We're going to go into Unity, and we have. Oh, we haven't used stat descriptions, which is okay yet. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and press play, and we should have our for loop generate our buttons. And as you can see, they're here. And basically what you're seeing here is that it's too long. So actually, I'll go ahead and explain this. Basically, what I did is I created these buttons too close together. So I'm going to have to make them longer, but not as wide. So we'll go in here. I think I always forget with rect function, but I think this needs to be 100, and we'll make this 50. Control S. Let's see. Yep. Okay. Now I got it. So basically, the reason why I made these toggle buttons is I want to, when you guys select it, I want it to read. Okay, stamina. Well, we know what stamina is because we're designing it, but your player doesn't. So I want to have a little description pop up. So what we'll do, and I'm actually going to go ahead and disable this, some of these functions so that we can get the testing done. So this display main items, I'm going to go up to our create player GUI, and I'm actually just going to comment it out. Control S to save, go back to our stat allocation model, and the next thing we're going to do is create a private function. It's going to be return a void, and it's going to be display stat descriptions. Now the way we're going to do this is we're going to check our stat selections bool. So we're going to go, it's going to actually take a bool array, and it's going to be stat selections, and we're going to run a for loop, or actually no, we're going to do if statements. We're going to go if bool, or if our stat selections array of, let's say 1, actually the first one will be 0, here we go. So if our stat selection is equal to 0, so if this is true, then that we know we're dealing with strength, and we need to display our stat descriptions we need to display our stat descriptions string of 1 or 0. So we'll go GUI dot label, and we'll do, it takes a rect, so we're gonna go new rect. We'll go 0, 0, 0 for now, and then it takes GUI content, so we're gonna go stat descriptions. Why is it not seeing it? Stat. Just go up here and copy it. Copy it, and we'll do 0. And then that would be our label. So now, so what we're doing, we're just doing a check. We're saying if our selection is if our selection is strength, then we're going to display this description. And then what you can do is go down with all your else if statements and say if it's endurance, if it's intellect, if it's stamina. And actually, I just messed up. This isn't strength. This is stamina. So our first selection is stamina. So I'll just run through the rest of them. And there's a few other ways you can do this. You can run a for loop and just run through all your different selections to see which one's true. And maybe in the next video I'll cover that. But I didn't want this video to be too long. So anyways, I hope you guys found this helpful. I hope you understand how we're going to be setting up this module using a separate script to run everything. But it can be called multiple times so you can have it elsewhere in your program. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. Hope you found it helpful. Please like, subscribe. I can't believe I'm at 100 subscribers almost. It's crazy. Thank you for all the support. And the next video should be out in about a day. All right, talk to you soon.